Welcome, everyone. This is the November meeting of the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association. We have two guest speakers. We have Mayor Sheehan, and we also have the new executive director of the Albany Public Library System, and Nicolay. And we'll be hearing from them both, as well as our annual meetings and various announcements and other things. We want to start right away with Mayor Sheehan, and so I'm going to turn it to Mayor.
Great, thank you so much. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to provide a really brief overview of the budget and a new department that I think was designed with neighborhood associations in mind and that I'm really excited about. So let's just dive right in. You know, every time I do the budget, I remind us and our entire workforce and our common council and all of our elected officials that the only reason that we're here is to serve you. It's our obligation to provide you with a city that is safe, healthy, and economically vibrant. That's why we do what we do. And so when we make the investments that we make, right, it's about focusing on what are we doing and what can we do to make sure that we're delivering on that mission. And when you look at really what we've been doing throughout the course of the year, we continue to invest to ensure that we have the ability to make sure that we're doing all that we can to put police on the streets. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. It's really, really challenging. It's a hugely challenging environment. You know, we continue to make sure that we have firefighters in Firehouse, that we have dispatchers in our dispatch center, and we're going to be making some investments in that dispatch center next year. And then our Department of General Services has the tools that they need. They continue to pave more streets, replace more sidewalks, and really make incredible investments across the city. And you know, we are also working on a landmark water project that will finally end centuries of bad stuff. Let's put it that way. They wanted to call it the Floatables Project, but somebody who's not really that good at marketing but knows what floatables are, we are calling it the Beaver Creek Clean River Project. So, you know, when we think about what we've been through, we also have this unprecedented opportunity to take our rescue plan funding and invest it in the community. So one of the things that we did was we took $25 million, we set it aside, we partnered with the Common Council, and we put out a request for applications. And we did not know what would happen. We did not know, because these are really challenging times for everyone. You know, I see Harry here, right? It's really easy to recruit people to come work for you, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Super easy, right? So with how inundated all of our community-based organizations and our not-for-profits are with just trying to keep their heads above water, we weren't sure. But we got 141 pre-applications. We moved 63 of those on to a second round. We awarded 35 projects, $25 million. The charge that we had from the task force that I put together was transformational, and transformational can happen at a small level and it can happen at a big level. And we got that from these applications. So 75% of this funding, we didn't learn anything from this pandemic. It's that the continued impacts of redlining and discrimination and lack of resource and disinvestment has had a uneven and really you know, so we can't live with it, right? We can't live with the inequity and be a healthy city and really look at one another as neighbors and say, we're doing great. So 75% of that funding is going into those census tracts of the highest need, including housing, affordable home ownership, the building out of community spaces, the providing of services. For example, in North, the naturally occurring retirement community that has existed up in the 8th Ward, mostly the Whitehall Road area, and does really amazing things for our seniors, really leaves out our lower income seniors. And the entity that provides those services up there are going to be moving into West Hill, Arbor Hill, and the South End. It's really very impactful work that we're going to see. And then we're investing another 25% of that money into our small businesses. You know, we're a government town. So just like, you know, you look at cities that have Procter & Gamble as their they're the headquarters for, you know, this Fortune 500 company or this Fortune 2000 company. our business is government, right? We're the world headquarters for New York State. And so when we think about those tax-paying businesses, the businesses that are creating jobs and innovating, it's our small businesses. And we have an incredible ecosystem for micro businesses in the city of Albany. And it is something that has gained attention across the country. I've been asked to come and speak about what we're doing here that supports our small businesses. And so we are using some of this funding to ensure that we continue that support and continue to build out that ecosystem. And then, of course, our arts and tourism organizations that were really hard hit. And so, even though we started the year in a really good position with a lot of optimism, we're facing headwinds. All of us are facing headwinds. We know that with inflation, which seems to be coming down a little bit, but the concern that people have around where the economy is going because of that follow-on impact. You can't interrupt supply chains and stop manufacturing cars and have everything come back online at the same time. And so we are seeing some of the impacts of that. And so as we put together the 2023 budget, we really had to look at, we know that this money that we got from the rescue plan is one-time money. We're not going to get it again, which is why we focused on really funding projects, looking at it from a sustainability standpoint. So for example, $2 million of our ARPA funding is going to a project that's focused on preventing homelessness and evictions, because we know there's going to be this big bubble of evictions that we're going to have to deal with, and we're going to have to figure it out. But after that, we'll be back to steady state, right? We'll be back to kind of where we were. So, balancing that with the fact that we also, because of inflation, have seen increases in our fuel costs and our personnel costs. I'm looking at our police officers, we gotta give them raises. So we need to do all that we can do to ensure that we're attracting and retaining a really excellent workforce. And so we built this budget with that in mind. And so when we when we looked at our tax levy, we did decide to raise our tax levy. It's below the cap, but we think that it's really important to ensure that we have the funding in the out years when this ARPA funding goes away. Because what I don't want to have happen is the shock that folks in Troy had a few years ago, where they got a 14% tax increase. So we're trying to balance it. We hate to raise your property taxes. There's no elected official on the planet that wants to raise your property taxes because nobody likes it, and I'm a homeowner too. But we've held the line on property taxes since I came into office, and the change that we're making would impact a home valued at $224,000 by $39 for the year, not $39 a month or anything like that, but $39 for the year. And our small businesses, right, who are our biggest non-homestead property taxpayers by $122. So that's the bad news. I like getting that out of the way. So what are we going to do with this money? We continue to invest in our parks. We have to invest in our underserved communities. West Hill is the most underserved community by every measure that we can look at. And so we are in the process of planning for the building of a community center. So we're putting $2 million aside this coming fiscal year to acquire property and do the design of that community center. We're looking to transform Hoffman Park Recreation Center, which is really our teen center. And we have a lot of young people that do go there. We need to look at that facility and create a really truly spectacular place for them. And some of these other investments, including $50,000 to not just look at new green infrastructure in Pine Hills and in this neighborhood, but think about what we can do in areas of this neighborhood where there is a high level of rentals and absentee landlords. What innovative things can we be looking at when we invest in that green infrastructure that will be maintained in the long run? And so I really want to thank this neighborhood association for being so focused on solutions and recognizing that if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's not gonna change. We're gonna think about the infrastructure in this neighborhood differently. We also are investing in our streets, $22 million, thanks to, and please, anytime you see them, Pat Beatty and John McDonald and Neil Breslin, they have, and the governor, I will say every year we have to beg for extra money in the budget, or had to, from the governor about our touring routes and about being able to invest in our streets. Governor Hochul in her first budget put it in. So we didn't have to negotiate for it, it was in there already. And so this is allowing us, Central Avenue is going to be transformed, Breviter is going to be transformed, Frisbee Avenue is a road that goes to Hoffman Park that has no sidewalks, that erodes all the time. We're finally fixing it. We have to fix that, and we now have the money to do that. We are rebuilding the Lincoln Park pool, and we announced a $10 million fundraising effort that is being chaired by the Business for Good, with the CEO of Business for Good putting in $1 million of his own money up front, and he's committed to raising $10 million towards that project. It's probably going to be a, I don't know, $14 to $20 million project. We'll see. They're doing the design now. And sadly, the time has come for the City Hall roof to be replaced. A big piece of it fell off of the clock tower. So that's a scary thing to have happen. That's been netted, but that roof needs to be replaced. The feasibility of that has been done. The assessment of that has been done. It's probably going to cost us $15 million. So we are going to the state with our hat in hand, and we are hopeful that we're going to get some grant funding for that. We're taking out some skylights that were not original, which we think will qualify us for some NYSERDA money because it'll be energy saving. So we're going to rattle as many sources as we can for that, but ultimately there is going to have to be a pretty significant investment on the part of the city in that. We're also investing in public safety. We had a speed hump pilot last year. Pilot's not done because we haven't gotten through the winter, but it's looking pretty good. And incredibly, the reduction in speeding is significant. So on the streets in West Hill, where we put the speed humps, prior to installation of the speed humps, 24% of the cars on those streets were speeding. After we installed the speed humps, 3% of the cars on those streets are speeding. So we know that everybody wants speed humps, and so we are in the process of finalizing a set of criteria for how we're going to prioritize where the speed humps are going to go. So think school zones, parks, areas with high pedestrian, and where there are high levels of speeding, because there are perceptions of speeding and then there's actual speeding. Sadly, we cannot put speed humps on roads like Western Ave, Madison Ave, Washington Ave, so don't ask. But we will be investing $1 million, and speed humps are super expensive, by the way. I found that out the hard way. We're continuing to improve our sidewalks. We have an application in, and we're looking, we think it's looking pretty positive for us to do a citywide traffic study. So we have a calming plan for Washington Park, and we have the calming plan for Madison Avenue, and we're gonna have a calming plan for Central Avenue. In order to really be able to tap into the federal funding that's available and all of the infrastructure dollars that are there, we need to have a Vision Zero plan for the entire city. And Vision Zero is a vision for zero pedestrian deaths related to car interactions. So that's what we're focused on. We have $2 million that is focused on APD's IT infrastructure. One of the things that we heard loud and clear, in order to build trust, you have to be able to provide information. And unfortunately, because of all of the different IT systems that exist within APD, we're not able to be as transparent as we want to be. We're happy to be transparent. We want to provide this information in a seamless way to our residents, but we need to make the investments in order to be able to do that. We also are investing in our workforce because we've got to attract people in order to be able to meet your expectations. Right now, we cannot meet your expectations because we simply don't have the workforce in place to be able to do that. Whether it's police or DGS or our planning department, You know, we have about 18% of our positions are open. And so it's a real concern, and we've got to be able to fill those positions. We are creating this one-stop shop at 200 Henry Johnson Boulevard. Well, we did create a one-stop shop there, and now we're taking it to the next level. So the vision for the one-stop shop was to have planning and zoning and community development all in one place, so that if you come in and you say, I got this violation that my porch steps are unsafe, I'm low income, I don't have the money to fix them, we could immediately get you in front of the community development agency to get you a grant in order to fix your steps. So it works, and there's always opportunity for improvement, because it still is siloed. So we're moving from this model where residents and developers come in and you still have to kind of figure out which office to go to a model where you're at the middle and we figure it out for you. Okay, so when you come to the department after we've done some refurbishing, you will have a navigator when you walk in that door who's going to help to navigate you to where you need to go. And the most important new addition is this new office, this new bubble, which is neighborhood and community services. So we are going to have, oops, I'm going the wrong way. We are going to have neighborhood specialists that will sit in these meetings, because I've been to enough of these meetings to know that our neighborhood officers show up, but then you have a codes issue or a tree issue or a whole, name your issue that has nothing to do with the police department. And they do the best that they can to try to channel that information back to us. But we want you to have the equivalent of your neighborhood officer in this office who can navigate all of the other issues that you're seeing. And we know that see, click, fix sometimes gets disparaged as see, click, forget, or see, click. I've heard various things about it. We look at it internally, but it sits in DGS and it shouldn't. So we're moving see, click, fix over to this new department so that it's not siloed in DGS, which is really focused on sidewalks and streets and trees and plowing snow and picking up garbage. It'll be sitting in a place that you're going to have the advocacy that you need in order to get problems resolved. So we're really excited about this. We're having an open house, David.
December
5th. 7th. No, I thought it was my birthday.
No, it's 7.
December 7th. Okay. So we're having a now you all know what my birthday is. So we're having an open house on December 7th. Faye Andrews is here. She's the new commissioner of this department. Thank you, Faye. She has tremendous experience in the city, has been running our community development agency, and I'm really thrilled that she was willing to step up and take on this new responsibility. But we're going to have an open house for the new jobs that are being created within this department. We need to get a group of neighborhood specialists who really understand how to be in community and how to work across organizations. So this is, again, I think I've highlighted this. The role of those specialists is going to be to work cooperatively and collaboratively with you, our neighborhood leaders, as well as city officials. Provide support when you have that idea, as you think about what it is that you're looking to do with the ARPA grant that you have, really making sure that we're tying in all of the support and help that you need. So I'm really excited about it, but I want to save time for your questions. When I think about the impact that this ARPA funding is going to have, I look forward to coming back 18 months from now to talk about how we have helped to transform lives, how we've helped to address some of the systemic issues that continue to cause us challenges. I will not, in any way gloss over the fact that we, like cities across the country, face significant challenges. We have a huge increase in homelessness, in people with mental health, untreated mental health, and addiction issues, substance use and abuse issues, who need help. And that help needs to come from us working together, because it is our healthcare system and the support systems and the seats and beds that we need in our treatment facilities to get people the help that they need, that I'm continuing to fight for and that I see as the big missing big gap that we have. But one of the investments that we're making, and I'll close with this, is that another $2 million grant that we made was to Northern Rivers. They have launched a program, we're in the, what do they call that? The soft opening phase, the site, but they have launched a program called Jumpstart, which is providing 6 to 8 weeks of intensive case management for individuals who have a challenge that can be solved in 6 to 8 weeks. So for example, if an officer shows up at a burglary, somebody's apartment has been broken into, oftentimes it's domestic, somebody may have stolen the person's ID, their purse, you know, a whole bunch of stuff, right? And they've got to start from nothing. And you're overwhelmed, you're traumatized. This is a card that our officer can hand to that person with a number that they can call to connect them to that case management. So we're not talking about the emotionally disturbed person or the, you know, seriously addicted folks, but people who just in their everyday lives, you know, we get a call that somebody's got a kid at home that should be in school. And, you know, we go and we knock on the door and, you know, the kid's not in school because mom can't figure out how to get the birth certificate, right? She doesn't have the right paperwork. And every time she comes to City Hall, she gets told that she needs something different. So how do we navigate people through that? And I think in doing that, we can help to prevent some of the escalation that we see in people's lives that send them into a situation that then becomes an even bigger challenge for the system. So we're focusing on our police department and our codes department and the interactions that they have with folks. I can't tell you how many hours our police officers care so much about our families, and they spend lots and lots of time trying to connect people to services. And I'm grateful that they do that, and we can do better. We can give them that resource, and that's what we funded, is to give them that resource that will take it, right? And when the food pantry doesn't call back, or when DSS doesn't call back, they'll take that, so that our officers can focus on, you know, what it is that they need to be focused on in order to keep us safe. So it's a lot, but you know, Albany for all, powered by pride and potential. That's who we are.
Thank you, Mayor Sheehan, that was great, it took me back my days and yeah, I want to give you a chance to come on because as you know, there is a plague really going on, sweeping the nation, particularly urban areas, our city, and indeed in our neighborhood, we've been seeing more of it than we are used to. We're very grateful to you and to the police department for the resources you've brought there. And they're working in a number of ways with you. But I wanted to ask you kind of for an update on your perspective generally, and also ask specifically about the youth services. Both you and the chief have talked about providing additional youth services, perhaps even, you know, in the neighborhoods where the problems are occurring, such as at Madison Park. And so I wanted to ask how we can help with that and what needs to happen.
Sure. You know, this is a complex problem. If we're an easy problem, we have it solved. But let's start with the fact that we live in a gun culture. We live in a culture that glorifies guns, that think, you know, that sends messages to people all the time that you should have a gun and that you should carry a gun. And that's, you know, we could sit here for hours talking about that. But that's the reality of what we're dealing with. And then when you layer onto the fact that we live in this culture that glorifies guns, that we have unprecedented access to guns, with guns flooding our streets. 70% of the guns that our police officers, illegal guns that our police officers take off the street are not from New York State. So, you know, this is a challenge, but you don't want to hear from your mayor, like, oh, I'm going to blame the other guy, right? We have a police department that is laser focused on this. And that, you know, last year took a record number of guns off the street, and this year broke that record. And we'll continue to do that. So, you know, we're doing all that we can. You know, I think it speaks volumes that for the homicides that we have seen in this city, as tragic as they are, our police department has closed virtually every single one of those cases. And that those homicides involve individuals who knew each other. Even the homicide that occurred, you know, in the middle of the afternoon on Hamilton, involved two people who knew each other. So when you think about, you know, arguments that escalate to people pulling out guns, that's a huge issue. And very little of it involves, I mean, everyone's young to me, so I shouldn't say that, you know, it involves young people, but very, very few of those incidents involve truly juveniles, right? Most of these are individuals in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So this is a broader problem than just, you know, we need to do more for our youth, and we need to do more for our youth. But one of the things that we heard about what was happening in Madison Park led us to the decision to say, well, wait a minute, you know, we don't have to throw the police at everything. It sounded like we had a group of young people who were coming into that park after school that were engaging in some behaviors that were troubling. And so called our Commissioner of Recreation, Youth and Workforce Services. He sent rec aides into that park to engage with the young people and to say, you know, what's going on? Why are you here? What can we connect you with? Do you want to go, you know, we have a boxing gym, we have a video gaming program. So trying to connect young people with resources and let them know that we care. Like, we see you, we see what you're doing, and we care. So we need to be doing more of that, and being really intentional about it, and working with you know, the neighborhood engagement officers to make those connections. Like, hey, wait a minute, you know, we've got a bunch of rec aides who know most of these kids, because most of our rec aides work at the high school. They may be able to be effective in, you know, peeling off, you know, a few of these folks and getting them engaged. So that's one of the things that we've done, and what we've heard so far from the feedback is that is having a positive impact on what we're seeing. And then the other thing that we need to do is to continue to connect young people to jobs. There is not a single person in this city that we cannot help find a job. We have a workforce department. We have a Compass Rose program. We have a My Brothers and Sisters Keepers program, which is focused on those young folks, right, between the ages of, say, 16 and 28. We have gotten people CDL licenses. We've gotten people, what is it, phlebotomy? Let me take that. Yeah. There's a 6-week phlebotomy program that can get somebody certified and a good job. I mean, you know, Albany Med, St. Peter's, they'll hire them as fast as we can train them. We can train X-ray technicians. We are, you know, we have the resources. So this is not a, we don't have the money moment. I mean, that moment may come, but right now we have incredible amounts of workforce money, and we have to figure out how to be more effective in spreading that message through the community. And I think it gets spread most effectively by the people who are benefiting from it. So we have worked with some of our success stories to say, you know, will you come and talk to this group about what you did and the investment that you made? And, you know, all of those have to happen. And I do also believe that we have to take a harder look at some of the criminal justice reforms. And I think we need to ensure that anyone who is arrested with a gun is not, that we have bail eligibility for those individuals. And so to the extent that there are still, you know, holes in that, we need to close those holes.
I think we know most of it. Questions?
You asked mine.
Yep,
Well, I would like to see you go home too early, so.
thanks. I've only worked half a day, 12 hours.
quite a bit of talk about the LEAD program, which is a way for police officers to connect troubled people with, so. I haven't heard much about that lately. How is that going?
We have been working that really hard, and we just got another $1 million plus grant to support that program. And we also, as a group, have decided to do something that is called social contact referrals. So the LEAD program, it used to be that you had to have committed an offense that was LEAD eligible in order to be referred into the program. You know, when you think about LEAD eligibility, oftentimes when our officers are encountering the individual who may have trespassed or may have shoplifted or may have, you know, engaged in whatever, public urination, whatever the violation might be. Oftentimes they're not in a mindset that they're ready for diversion. And so I think that we recognize that, and we broaden the opportunities. So for our officers who know of an individual who may be suffering from substance use, you know, a substance use issue, they can refer that person, even if they don't witness them actually violating the law, to say, hey, listen, you know, there's a caseworker, here's that person's number, you can meet with this individual. So we just started that. We've done some work in the South End with doing some very targeted LEAD interventions with individuals who are not engaging in their own self-treatment at the rescue mission with some success, but the need is so great. And that is the challenge. And the premise of LEAD is that it's non-coercive. So it really is up to the individual to decide whether or not they're going to engage with LEAD. The other thing that we are working with the county on, and again, you know, the city does not provide any social services, right? We are not a social service provider. That is your county. And I encourage you to engage with the county. And look, Dan McCoy and leaders in the county care very much about this. We work side by side, but the resource is at the county level. And so one of the things that the county is looking at piloting, a lot of people talk about ACCORD, which is a response. So, you know, a call comes in for somebody who's emotionally disturbed, and instead of a police officer responding, you're going to send a mental health unit. Okay, that takes a lot to create. And when you look at the volume of calls in the city of Albany, it's a lot. One of the things that they're looking at is a street treatment model. So I'm hopeful that within the next 6 months, they would be piloting that in Albany, where they will have clinicians who they don't need, they need the police to be aware that they're on a block in case something happens, but it's not a police officer initiated contact. It is clinicians engaging with individuals who are clearly, you know, homeless, have a substance use issue, and seeking to treat them where they are. Because what happens is individuals go into the emergency room, they get their medication, they leave, they run out of medication, they go off their medication. So we need clinicians who can actually prescribe right on the spot, who can get people back on track, so that we're not using this cycle of the emergency room, and then you go into crisis, and then you've got to go back to the emergency room. So we've got to throw a lot of new ideas at this, and it's not just police response. It's about before somebody is disturbing enough to even get the police call. How do we get the clinicians out where they need to be?
Yes. So in your presentation, you used a phrase that is very important to me, which is the vision zero concept. And you used it in conjunction with talking about study. Could you just give us a little more details about that?
Sure. So when it comes to the federal infrastructure dollars that are available, the messaging that we've received as mayors is that cities with Vision Zero plans will have priority. And a Vision Zero plan is a plan that looks holistically at the entire city. So even though we might have a great plan for Washington Park, that's not gonna necessarily score very high because we can't show that we have a Vision Zero plan for the whole city. So we're gonna be working with CDTC. We applied for a grant, CDTC did, and a couple of other municipalities. The feedback that we're getting is they want us all to kind of join together and do it all at the same time. And I think that we'll be able to accomplish that plan relatively quickly because we have done a lot of the work already. But the other piece of that we're building into that is now that we have the authority to reduce the speed limit to 25 miles an hour. Building that, you have to have a plan before you can reduce the speed limit to 25 miles an hour. So building all of that into one plan that would happen next year so we can move really rapidly. To say, we're not just doing it neighborhood by neighborhood, right? Like, we're not just doing it for, like, we're gonna be doing some work on Clinton Avenue with DRI money. We are gonna be finalizing the plan for Washington Park. We are looking at Lark Street. So we're not just doing it piece by piece, but that we have a vision for the whole city on how to make those investments so that we can get to a point where we.
And it's not covered by the bike and pedestrian master plan. Is Vision Zero even?
Vision Zero will take they'll be able to take all of our plans. That's why we're asking for the money. We need somebody who can come in and say, okay, you've got all these plans. This is what the feds look for in a Vision Zero plan. Because there are plenty of Vision Zero plans out there.
Right.
So just take what we've got, find where there are gaps that we need to do additional speed measures and crosswalk and all of that stuff, and create the plan so that we can say to the feds, we're ready, now give us money. Thank you.
With all the problems the city has, it might seem a little winky dink here. But what we're trying to do here on Upper Madison is to turn around and see everything is to create a business-friendly neighborhood by creating an infrastructure in front of the Price Chopper Wall. Because the way it is right now, it's just kind of like a desert. You have, benches lined up, it's hot, hardly any shade, nothing. So we hired some designers who are members of our neighborhood association to create a plan that would create sort of like a third space. So the benches would be short enough so people would be able to sleep on them. There would be shelters, there would be low maintenance, and we're envisioning a place where people could just stop and talk, maybe bring some food out, an enhanced kind of environment that would bring more people into the area. I know it's a small little project compared to all the big problems, but we're trying to raise money for that, and I just want to bring it to your attention. And if you want to buy a bench for your family, like a shelter or whatever, we think that this is really going to be a significant sort of project, and hopefully will really upgrade the whole infrastructure of these 2 blocks and make it much more an area that would benefit businesses and residents. So that's what we're trying to do, and we're not asking for any money.
You just asked me. Come on. You just asked me.
We didn't get it, but we have a lot of good language in it, and I was just wondering, is there anything we could apply for somehow?
Okay. I mean, I can't give you an answer right now, but I will certainly look into that. And I'll also, have you reached out to Market 32?
They're not interested. In fact, they are so uninterested that they really don't want it because they think it's going to bring a lot more trash and a lot more problems. But we did get a letter from Marissa Franchini saying, don't worry about it. You don't have to be responsible, just shovel a little path through,
Okay.
I'll
reach out. Okay. Good to know.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, and the neighborhood and community thing. Is there like going to be a person that is say, connected to the Pine Hills Neighborhood
Yeah,
Association?
You'll have one person.
Oh, okay.
So you will have a point of contact. Now, full disclosure, they will have other neighborhood associations that they will also be assigned to. But you will have one point of contact, just as you have your neighborhood engagement officer, you will have a point of contact from that office.
And what kind of things can we expect or could we, like, say if we wanted to have that person, you know, speak at a meeting, what?
Yeah, no,
what would
they
be the things?
No, they will come to all of your meetings,
Okay.
just as your neighborhood officer does. So they will be assigned to come to these meetings and to again, look, you know, we will never stake a claim to perfection, ever. But we care. And sometimes our residents don't think that we do because of things that happen, right? Trash that doesn't get picked up, or, you know, something that we, you know, think is gonna happen that doesn't happen. We do care, and our departments want to be able to meet and exceed your expectations. So being able to have a neighborhood specialist who has a relationship with the departments and who can tell us where we're falling short and where we need to do better and how we can communicate better, it is really one of the main goals of that, right? We want to ensure that we're doing all that we can and we understand where those challenges are and that we're effectively communicating what those expectations can be, right? So if a tree isn't gonna get planted until the fall of next year, we just have to tell you that. And so that's really what this individual is gonna help us to do, is to make sure that we're effectively and clearly communicating and understanding what your expectations are, and then problem solving and figuring out how to meet those expectations.
Wait, I
Thank you
just
very
have one
much,
question, I'm sorry. What about composting? Is there going to be any kind of mechanism for?
So right now, our composting is still the 3-tier that we have, where you can either get a backyard composter or you can compost and bring it to the locations where you can drop off your composting. And we're looking to expand the number of places that you can drop off your composting. Or for a fee, you can have your composting picked up.
Not by the city, though, by Radix or something?
Yeah, well, it's a partnership, but yeah, it's through the city but they're our partner,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we are in the Pine Hills branch of the Albany Public Library. And we're very grateful for the space. Thank you, Nicolay. And the library system has a new executive director, Nicolay, who is here to talk to us tonight. Give us a brief overview of priorities and what's going on.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mayor Sheehan, for being here tonight. Tough act to follow, I must say. I don't know what she ate for breakfast, but I should switch to that. I am flagging it this time today, but she was like, boom, all right. So I want to start by just sharing how happy I am to be here. I'm learning Albany, so I'm still getting to know the city. I am not from here, I'm from New Jersey. Don't hold it against me. I also spent some time in New York City. That was where I learned to be a librarian at the New York Public Library. I spent 14 years in New York City, and then I moved to, this thing moves, it's on wheels. So then I moved up to Massachusetts. I became assistant director at the Robbins Library in Arlington, Massachusetts, which is a town of half the size of Albany, but really close to Boston. So considered sort of an exurb of Boston. And then I became director of Robbins Library in 2015, and fast forward to 2022, my family, my sister, her family, my parents, they all relocated to Albany within 5 years' time, because none of us are from this area. Although my mom's from Buffalo, and she is a Bills fan, so I've got that going for me. So that really drew me to Albany. I wanted to kind of look for the next challenge in my life, my professional career. And Albany, I mean, this position opened up and I couldn't believe my luck. So I applied and I was so grateful to be here. I am visiting every neighborhood association that I possibly can. So if you have connections to other neighborhood association presidents and they haven't posted me yet, please put the pressure on. I would love to come. I'll also, of course, be making the rounds during budget season. But in my effort to get to know the community and to invite the community to ask questions of me. I'm hosting 7 meet and greet opportunities throughout November and December, so that's at each branch location. You can find all of them on the back of this program guide. And I want to stress the fact that these visits are not in order of any preference whatsoever. This was a factor of scheduling and availability. So I want to point that out because I know, like, you know, the perception might be that I'm going in some sort of order, and I'm not. So these are drop-in opportunities and no registration is necessary. So with that said, I want to share about a couple things that are new with the library. So we reopened our North Albany branch. Have any of you been there yet? No, not yet, but of course, why would you go to North Albany? This is your branch. But it's exciting for us because one of the things I love about our North Albany location is that even though it's our smallest location, it is now 12% bigger than it was before because we were able to take over some space from the YMCA that was there before. So we are also connected to the North Albany Middle School, of course, at the North Albany branch. And the North Albany branch really gives us an opportunity to be part of the solution in terms of providing opportunities for kids to do stuff after school. I mean, that's true across APL. We are part of the solution when it comes to gun violence and creating programming and engaging events that our kids can engage with each other at and connect with their community members at. We're doing those things already, and we are investing even more in them, and we will be definitely during next year. Next year is our centennial year, so you'll hear a lot about the centennial celebration of the library, and we'll be doing a lot more programming that's centennial focused, and that will really call upon the history of Albany. We'll be doing a number of programs that highlight the history of Albany and showcase it. So much more to come on the centennial, but I did want to mention that at North Albany, we also have a new public meeting room. So if you're ever looking for space, and if Pine Hills meeting rooms are all booked up for your neighborhood association meeting, you can think about North Albany as an alternative. There are 2 study rooms there. We have 2 accessible gender neutral public restrooms there. And yeah, like I said, it's a little bigger than before. I also wanted to touch on book challenges. This is a major issue for libraries across the country. Not here in the capital region, but I did want to highlight the fact that at the most recent trustees meeting of the library, the board voted unanimously to join the American Library Association effort called Unite Against Book Bans. And Unite Against Book Bans brings together elected officials, faith groups, nonprofits, publishers, and it aligns us with the principles: reading is a foundational skill, critical to future learning and to exercising our democratic freedoms. Books are tools for understanding complex issues. Individuals should be trusted to make their own decisions about what to read. Parents should not be making decisions for other parents' children. And finally, young people deserve to see themselves reflected in library books. So these are the principles of Unite Against Book Bans, and I'm really happy to say that the board voted unanimously to join this effort and put Albany Public Library among the organizations that support the freedom to read. I also wanted to highlight a couple of circulation statistics. How am I doing on time? I have no concept. Great, okay. I want to share with you the top fiction authors that circulate here at Pine Hills. Number 1, any guesses? Anyone? Bueller? No? James Patterson, shocker, right? So he's number 1. Dav Pilkey is number 2. Dav Pilkey is a children's graphic novel author, very popular. Jeff Kinney is number 3, another fantastic children's author. Mo Willems, a picture book author. You see a trend. Children's books are the highest circulating material in the entire library system, which is a really great thing to be able to say. Our top books, nonfiction, in terms of authors: Maggie Haberman, Melissa Clark, Bell Books, number 3. And in terms of collection use here at Pine Hills, again, juvenile picture books are at the top. The total number of items circulated in October alone, 4,883. And then second is adult mystery, third is young adult fiction. So we're really, this is a nice little snapshot of what's happening in Pine Hills and in your neighborhood reader population. And I want to also thank Deanna for all her great work in shepherding this branch. Deanna is one of our 3 heads of branches in the library, and she oversees Pine Hills. So what else do I want you to know? Let's see. Any questions? Any questions so far? Please.
This is a very silly kind of question, but can you please say your full name the way that you like it to be said?
Oh, sure. Andrea Nicolay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And yeah, I was at the Literary Legends Gala, which I don't know if any of you made it, but it was October 1st. It was in Delaware. It was a lovely event. It's the main fundraising event for the Friends and Foundation of Albany Public Library. And William Kennedy was there. And it was so great to meet this true Albany legend, especially as a new director. And I told him my name and he said, "Oh, is that Alsatian?" He's the first person who has ever guessed correctly, and that my last name is Alsatian. Anyway, side note, why you asked about my name. So what else do I want you to know? I want you to know that one of my goals as in the near term is to increase the pipeline for librarians of color in Albany Public Library. We have a problem in that we don't reflect the community as far as our staff goes. We also don't have great salaries. It's a lot of the similar issues that the mayor cited in terms of the other agencies across Albany. We share that challenge. We don't have attractive salaries. So when it comes to recruiting and helping people understand even how to navigate the civil service system, it's a big challenge for the library. So I'm really interested in enhancing, and I have, of course, the board's support in looking at ways that we can enhance the salary scales and really make the library an attractive place to have your first job. Because once we get them in the door, once we hire library assistant or a clerk, it is very often that they get so inspired by working at the library that they want to continue on in library education, and they stay with us for decades. So that's one goal that I feel very strongly about and that I'm excited to move forward and promote. So, anyway, I want to thank you.
Well, we want to thank you, and one thing I want you to know is that we and other neighborhood associations are very grateful for the library's commitment to letting us use these rooms. 2 or 3 years ago, in this room, we had a CAN meeting. The previous library executive director was here, an individual who I also kind of missed the name, so I apologize for that.
No worries.
It's a tradition at this point. And he committed to us being a really big thing for us and holding, really appreciate it. It's very helpful for everyone, and particularly now as we're just coming out of COVID, we're going back to in-person meetings, so we're very grateful for you putting the resources to it.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing no more questions, but thank you. So that was pretty good. We've actually moved through on time and budget for our meeting tonight. With major speakers. Now we'll be taken over by the members of the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association Board, and I bet you immediately we start running late. But we'll see. We'll try that. We've got a challenge before us. So tonight is also our annual meeting, which is a requirement of our bylaws, which we do every year. We have a couple of standard report outs, both a general annual report, which I will give, but we're going to start with our treasurer's annual financial report, and then we'll go on to some governance housekeeping and the election of board members. So Eric Shaw is our treasurer, and then go to this.
Drop a copy of this off or something to you guys, the official record. So basically, the neighborhood association, all the funds that we receive and pay out are through an account at Trustco, and we have a credit card that we or debit card that we use to pay our constant contact and a few websites and things like that. So that makes it very easy to write checks and things like that. Most of most of the membership fees are through the website, which is really great, because I don't have to worry about it. There is a fee to that, you know, the credit cards take the chunk of the money, so, but you had to put a stamp on the envelope, you paying that part too, so it does balance out, making it easy to do that. So, we do included in our Trustco account, we have a couple of county grants that we have money for. It's left over. It was $837 roughly for the Madison Park grant, for the work there, the playground grant. There's some money left in that, and there's also $2,400 for a Euro grant that we got last year. The year before, we've had that for a while. So we have a lot of cash, but a lot of it's committed. So currently, we started the year with $4,241, and now in the account, there's $4,525. So we went up a little bit, $284. And that reflects money we paid out for the website and constant contact and membership fees, and that's a couple donations here and there.
So we're pretty flush.
Yeah, it's pretty much balanced, right? Yes, and there's plenty of cash, right? There's $4,200 in cash. So something like this, you know, sponsoring that would be, you know, something that we can talk about in the next.
If only we could ask us.
Yeah, so something to think, right? Some of this, there's this, and John was the previous one. It took. So this will be the 4th year for this. So, and it's not that difficult. It's just it does take a little bit. So we get the income was $911 basically between memberships and donations, and then there was $625 in expenses. That included volcano dues. There's an Elvis concert that we sponsored, and there's some other miscellaneous.
Mostly what we pay for Zoom and.
Yeah, Squarespace, constant contact, and the Zoom. Yeah, those are just maintaining the website. So that's really that's pretty much it. So yeah, there is a bunch of cash, but it's basically $1,000, $1,500 a year things we pay for and use, and then we have roughly that membership.
That's good, thank you.
Well, I have a question.
No.
Oh, no, I'm struggling.
What's that?
How did you pay for that first trailer? No, I want to know, what did we give up in charitable contributions? We used to have kind of a steady diet of around $300, $400, $500 a year back when we had 160 members, and now what's the story with that?
We had a long discussion about that at one of the meetings, or some discussions. We didn't make any this, and so far in 2023, I'd have to pull the stuff out for 2022. So there wasn't any this year. So we haven't made any. We can certainly, so we certainly have plenty of cash. We just, you know, to do
I
something.
think we wanted to get a,
We have, let
financial-
me summarize. We have begun a budget conversation, and Eric and Virginia have put together a budget, because you have to look at the big picture. It's a weird time. We've got a lot of cash because money kept coming in, and we stopped spending it for a lot of things. We didn't have public meetings. We didn't have some of our public festivals that we have. And so we're in no financial trouble, but still, as we go forward, we want to be able to afford what we're spending on. And so I imagine we're going to be spending more, and John is right, and others have raised, we want to consider charitable contributions, but we want to get together, look at the budget and do that. And I suppose we could even make some this year if we wanted to, if we should really have a meeting this side.
Oh, certainly.
But there's definitely room for that.
I wouldn't do anything until we know what we're gonna be doing, you know, when we set up. I
When we go
agree.
through
You
the
know, we
budget.
gotta take care of ourselves first and our members in
Right.
terms of really stepping up programming.
Programs,
opinion, You know,
publications.
because we haven't really been out there doing anything.
Yeah, as we all know, just 3 years.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, you can still do, well, whatever it is, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I think it's nice to know we have money, but also not to be complacent about it. because we are going to be planning things.
Right,
I
right,
think
yeah,
the
let's go-
charitable
let's go
stuff should be in the
engage
bottom
the-
of the list.
engage and, you know, participate in the city and stuff, and, yeah. So it's,
We're a 501c3 as well, so we're actually a charity in a lot of ways. So I think that too, charities and other charities, you know. So.
Like that.
Is
we're
there
actually
any
a charity as well, we're
prohibition from us
501c3.
to do
So we're- what's that?
No.
that? Is there a prohibition?
No,
Oh,
no, it's just, you know, it's, we should also do it.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, and Steamer 10 and some other things that are, you know, worthy community groups.
Like for as being a charity.
So we will have that conversation at our next board meeting in the spring. And the one reason why I asked Eric to go first was because it kind of segues into what I'm going to briefly say about it. Which was, it was strange, it was, you know, 3 years post-COVID, and it's because we didn't have many programs, we weren't spending it, and so we had a lot, everything has been kind of different. Things are changing and good and in difficult ways. We're back meeting in person, and we're going to continue doing that. We went totally on Zoom since the beginning of COVID until really this fall, September and October. And it was nice because we could record the meetings and you could watch them at home. People got used to the meetings being recorded, however. Now that we're back in person, if you watched our last 2 recordings, well, there were little sketch, there were some problems, some technical difficulties. And we are learning as I go. We are committed to having the public meetings where we can. We'll try simulcasting, but it's been difficult. And we are in fact taping this meeting, and we will put it on our website later. As we move on, we're going to continue meeting here at the library, and that's very good. It was also a very challenging year. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about it. The mayor talked about it. It was the gun violence that swept the nation, the urban areas, and came into the Pine Hills neighborhoods in a shocking way to many of us. So we have done a lot of thinking about that, a lot of talking about it. We've had a lot of communication with our neighborhood engagement unit officers, with the chief, with the mayor. And I have to say the response has been very, very good. We held a community event, basically an anti-violence event. We met with SNUG and other anti-violence agencies, and that was there. It's a very nice event for the community. It's sort of opening our minds in new ways to think about this problem and to deal with it. We're going to continue to do that, and we'll continue to work in every way we can, not just what we traditionally do, which is lobby with the city for their services and other ways. We're going to reach out to new organizations, and we're going to challenge ourselves to do things new ways. So that is going to continue, but we have to keep thanking the city and the police for the excellent job they're doing. And they are, we always want for more resources, but they're doing pretty well with us. So that's my very short description of it. Talk about it without talking about school violence. A couple of other things I want to mention, some of them already have been. We have a Midtown Pine Hills Committee, which Carolyn Keefe has chaired for many years. And that committee has been doing a lot, as they always have, about trash problems, litter problems. And we got a grant for an ARPA grant. The mayor talked about that pot of money. She forgot to take credit for the $50,000 that Pine Hills did. She mentioned it, sort of glancing at it. She got now, but that was for a street trees and greenery project to remove the black top strips that were put over where grass normally is, which means sidewalk and curb in most neighborhoods. And we were very excited about that. 50,000 actually, it's a lot of money, but it isn't when you start digging and replacing things like that. So after we got that grant, which was meant to be a demonstration, the city stepped up and said, we can provide some additional work, at least on Hudson Avenue, to repair and replace sidewalks. And now we are in a conversation with them, which has some creative policy tension, I shall say, because our vision was let's put in grass everywhere it is elsewhere. And the DPW is concerned, well, in some neighborhoods we've seen that turn to mud. And well, give us a chance, one, and number two, let's kind of meet in the middle. It can't be one way or the other. This is a demonstration project. Well, let's try some things. And I didn't lean on the mayor tonight because we just started the conversation, but we are going to pursue it to, we hope, a good conclusion, and it's very important to us to keep the greenery in the street trees and greenery project. But we're happy about that. I'm very happy about the additional resources because you can only go so far with 50,000. Virginia talked about the promenade or promenade. You see now I'm getting confused between the French and
You
the
wanna be French and you wanna be, why don't we say promenade?
promenade, the promenade project. And that is a very exciting one too. And we had some funds for a mural program that we may reprogram in other ways, and we're going to continue to work on that. So there are some very exciting things that happened as well. That is my big picture summary. I'm not going to go into details, but I'm going to do two things now because we need to elect the board members whose terms are expiring. Well, we don't need to, we could elect not to elect, I guess. But it's myself, it's Eric Shadow, and Rick Jesser, who is not here tonight. He's busy putting out production at Steamer 10, which I'll talk about when I get to dates in the next section. But one of the things I want to speak primarily to people who may be watching this online, Pine Hills Neighborhood Association is open to more involvement. We want your involvement. We're often reaching out to members of the community to help us out. We have actually, I must say, I know some of the other neighborhood associations, we have a very active board. We have 13 members. Is it 12? No, it's 13 still. And we have, all of them are as well, as you can tell when people start asking questions and peppering in the air with nagging reminders of things we promised to do a year ago. But we also have a lot of people who don't seem to participate in the various committees. We really want your involvement. We would like it. We are continually recruiting for that, for committee chairs. We need a committee chair, for example, for our community, our communications group, which we had an excellent chair I recruited a year ago, Jay Meeks, who unfortunately has chosen to move back to Detroit. So we're feeling his loss, and we are looking for more help on that committee. And with that, I want to turn to Carolyn Keefe, who has asked for us to have her involvement in the Midtown Finance.
I think you should go up there because of the
Okay.
camera.
Yeah, all right, so, the Midtown Pine Hills Committee was founded 9 years ago this month. So, and I have been the chair ever since the beginning. And, I have decided that 10 years is too many. So, as of the end of June, which is the end of the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association programming year, and the end of the Midtown Pine Hills meeting year, although we do stuff over the summer to prepare for the fall, I will be stepping back as chair. I will stay involved, I will stay on the board, but I think it's time for new leadership, new energy, new approaches, and so I'm encouraging anybody who is interested in helping Midtown Pine Hills, which is the student neighborhood between Main and Lake and Myrtle and Washington, to please let us know, and we will need a new chair as of the end of June. So, thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Thank you for saying those words. Very formally honestly. But you know, you do a lot more than that, and you all know it. You help out everyone on this board, and you are continually contributing, and we very much appreciate it. So no one will raise an objection to reasonably wanting to get up after 10 years. So Pine Hills wants you. That is the message. Now I will go to the election of board members. I'll name them again, the three of us whose terms are expiring: John Clarkson, Eric Shadow, and Rick Jesser. And since I'm one of those three, I'll ask for anyone here to make a motion to reappoint those three to 3-year terms on the board.
I move to appoint the three of you.
Do I have a second? Paul Lundberg gets the second. Now we could have a discussion. We can go through personal shortcomings. I would urge you to just go to vote. I think now everyone here who is a member of the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association who's paid your dues this year, and our honorary members, which includes Luke, and I don't know if anyone else in the count. We are not election denialists here. But our secretaries will know they won't be able to count, so I'm gonna have to do that. It's probably a violation of the drill. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand and say aye. Okay, is anyone opposed? All right, thank you very much, and for Eric.
Thank
and
you all.
myself. Well, that takes care of all the official business we had to do. I have a number of announcements, and others have announcements just about dates that I want to mention. Rick Jesser, who just reappointed, as I said, is not here. He is directing Alice Opens in Wonderland. There's a wonderful article in Times about that and the challenges of putting on the show in a post-COVID or not post-COVID environment, depending on how you read it. And but that show, you have not missed your chance to see it. There will be shows on November 19th, 20th, December 34th, so get out to see those. I also want to mention the Winter Carnival Market, which was a new event last year, which this neighborhood association and 5 others helped support along with the Washington Park Conservancy. There is an event this year. It is Saturday, December 10th, coming up pretty quick, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This year it's going to be a little different. It's primarily a winter market like the Half Moon markets many of you may be familiar with that we haven't had since COVID. And so now we're returning to, I think, the first time for this winter market. It will be inside the lake house, and we may have other events going on with it as well. We know for sure that will be happening. At this point, I think we did provide some volunteers last year. The neighborhood association has not been asked to do so. So we don't need to, but stand by for change. 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. just on Saturday, not on Sunday. And we will be promoting that on our website too, so I won't forget that, hopefully. And I was also asked to mention the tree lighting, which is December 2nd from 5 to 7 at Civic Academy Park, in front of City Hall there. So that's always a wonderful event. Usually there's singing and there's the lighting of the tree, and it's very good. So you might want to think about showing up for that. Virginia, you were going to give a note on the Upper Madison promenade. I don't know if you still need to do that. I mentioned it a couple times.
Well, yeah, I'll say something. So, bless you. I think before you guys leave, you know, I'm gonna come up here and look at this thing because it is something, as I said to Mayor, that could really enhance the Upper Madison neighborhood. And if you have any questions, it tells you pretty much the reasons, what we hope to accomplish, and you know, how it's gonna help the neighborhood. And if you have any way of helping us, we're gonna try to raise money just through selling naming rights, and hopefully maybe trying to get the mayor to direct us to some other ways of doing this, because it will cost, well, we think probably around $50,000, maybe a little bit less. We've already sold 2 benches. So, you know, we're gonna approach probably some corporations and businesses, et cetera, et cetera. So if you guys, I mean, we are gonna put more information out online. If you know anybody, if you work with anybody, you know, any rich people. I mean, having your name, it's a nice thing. And also you'll be part of making Upper Madison, you know, a lot better and a destination, which we always want to be doing. That's it. Wait, I want to mention one more thing. We've also, Upper Madison, been working with the chapter to try to make their parking lot safer for pedestrians. So I noticed the other day they actually have respected it, and it's not what we wanted, but it does create a path from both sides, Madison and West Lawrence, of stripes that people can use to traverse the parking lot. And I tested it out, it seems to work. I did not get run over. And people seem to stop. I mean, they paid attention to it. So, I mean, we've worked with them for a long time. It's not the ideal, but it's
Sort
what
of
we
ends
do.
right.
great.
Sort of ends right where there's like, you know.
It ends, it's kind of, well, it does lead you to the price chopper, that's true, but, it doesn't perfect, well, whatever it is, it's better. Okay, that's.
So in addition to making eye contact with the drivers, you gotta make sure you watch the wall. All right, John Harris, did you want to say something about the Pine Hills classic film?
I certainly do.
Slightly less classic from what I'm reading.
Now, let me just remind you, if you want to look at what these benches look like, there's one on our porch. Somebody.
For a fee.
For a fee, yeah. So I'm here on behalf of the Pine Hills Film Society and to get some people to come in.
Sorry.
Oh, my third time today, I'm going to ask you, who want to do this?
We're missing this.
Well, this is like most people's marriage. Except
There used to be a board.
Let it all hang out. The Pine Hills Film Society's goal is to show, we show one film every month. Right now, we're at the Madison. I'll talk about 2023 in a minute. And our goal is to show quality films or important films that have not been seen by a lot of people that should be aware of it. So the films we choose come from the era, like from the end of the silent period, around 1929 to about 1965. We have standards for quality. We use something called IMDb. There are many different rating services out there. So they have to meet the threshold for quality. And so we try to show these. It's free. We ask for a $5 donation. We're at this point self-funded. And the situation for next year is going to be, that's up in the air. The Madison is reevaluating their relationship to community groups like ourselves. So we don't know what's going to happen, what the funding system is going to be. Right now, they let us use the theater and we give them $1, we give them $2 a head for everybody who comes, which is a pretty sweet deal when you figure that the rental cost is $150 an hour. So we don't know how that's going to come out. I have here a little descriptor, more formally and more eloquently than I explained of what we do, who we are, and what we do. I will leave that here. And I will also have a place where you can sign up so that you get announcements as to what we're showing. That's all you get. We don't sell you. We're not going to sell you. Give this out to somebody selling storm windows or anything. So, just our announcements. On our next and last show for this year will be on December 7th, Wednesday, and it will be the attack of the 50-foot woman. I did not just talk about quality. Well, it's an artifact about 1950s, B science fiction. So you got to see it. I mean, it's got terrible directing and acting. It's got an awful script. It's got cheesy effects. What else could you ask for? You come out, you see it, you put your high cinematic standards in the dresser at night, even below, come in there, nobody will rat you out, and you'll have a good time.
And it's a great community event. We have a cadre of people who come and they get to know each other, and it's just the way you want movies to be, on the big screen.
Yeah, that's a lot of quality movies. You can watch them on TCM, YouTube. If you get to see them on the big screen. These movies were meant to be seen. They were the photography was meant to be shown large. So you can see what it's really like to go to see a good movie. So one of the joys I get out of this is a few months ago we showed Shanghai Express, and there was a guy in there in his 30s. This is with Marlon Dietrich, right? He came out and said, who is that? Yeah, well, she's nuts, and she's wonderful. Like, if we had not been there, he would never have known who Marlene is. So here's a sign-up sheet. Just put your emails here. I'll leave this here. And please,
It's important, Madison. It's important.
crowd control, don't all rush up here. And thank you.
If you all show up, maybe they'll. We definitely do. So now is the time when we go to our elected officials. We have our county legislator, Veronica Carl, if you can address us.
Whoa. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Veronica.
Yeah, it's good to see you all. Guess I have to stay in the front this time around. Just some quick updates in the legislative district. For the legislative grants program this year, I was glad to sponsor the Washington Park Conservatory for funding and also the Upper Madison Avenue Street Fair. For public safety, I did spoke with County Sheriff Greg Apple after the last incident on Hamilton Street and requested that we needed patrol, especially at the Hamilton, Hudson, and Quail area of the neighborhood of the district. And immediately he did tell me that he was going to assign some patrols specifically to those areas. And the next day after that incident happened, he actually told me that he has now assigned 2 patrols, that's 2 sheriff vehicles to specifically Hudson, Hamilton, and Quail area of the 7th Legislative District, as I requested. So that's a good thing. I hope you all are seeing those sheriff vehicles in the district, and I hope that will help to prevent some crime in the neighborhood, hopefully. And another thing that I am working on right now, we also actually had a meeting today between myself, Sam Fine, and the sheriff, Greg Apple, also on crime in the neighborhood. And what we are trying to do is to have some type of funding for cameras for landlords and small businesses in the district, in the neighborhood perhaps, so that we can have the sheriff and maybe police officers having access to those videos and high quality videos to monitor the neighborhood and monitor crime in the neighborhood and prevent crime, hopefully prevent crime. I'm working right now on a legislation in the county legislature for telework to be made permanent for county employees. And right now, how the legislation is written is it would only apply to county employees. I'm also working on a broader version of the legislation that would apply to businesses, but on a smaller scale, not for all employees or most employees, but like to maybe people who just give birth, mothers who just give birth to and are breastfeeding. So that would probably only apply. But for how the legislation is written right now, it would only apply to county employees, and it's for any position that can be done remotely. For that to be, for the positions to be qualified so that it can include telework for employees who request for it. And just for bragging rights, as you guys have already uploaded, my team, I didn't do this part, but my team, they said for bragging rights, my office has attracted more funding to small businesses and organizations in the Pine Hills neighborhood than any other county legislator in the history of the district. So that's for bragging rights. I suppose that's on social media. Yes, so it means that my office as your county legislator for some of you here at least has attracted fundings to tens of small businesses in the Pine Hills and Beverwood neighborhood. And most of that can probably be attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic and stuff, but yeah, it's still bragging right. Thank you, that's all I have for today.
So now I'll turn to Councilman Olusi.
Yeah, thank you.
Covers just about all,
Yeah,
largest geographic.
thank you, and try to keep this brief. I know the mayor spoke earlier and talked about some of the great things that is going to be happening once this budget passed. One of the things that I'm really excited about is this new department that's going to be created all throughout the city. We're joined. There's been a need for constituent services. There should no reason a resident call any department and don't have access to a live person to speak to. So I'm really excited about that. And also another thing is that C-Click Fix is also going to go under this new department. So I'm really excited about that taking place. During this, there's also going to be a number of funding going towards sidewalk improvements, street pavements, that's going to be taking place. So I'm excited about that too. Some of the budget requests that that's not in the budget, but council members are advocating for right now, particularly Councilman Alfredo Ballard, something called Right to Counsel, where whenever someone's being evicted, they will have access to an attorney to essentially kind of make the case. I strongly support that. I don't think anyone should go to court without having access to an attorney. During the budget discussions, we're able to agree that $100,000 should be dedicated to finding an attorney for those who are facing evictions in our city. It's yet to be approved by the administration, but I think that the finance chair and other council members advocating for it is going to be placed in the budget. Also, another thing that members are advocating for, particularly on the council side, is funding for composting in our city to expand our composting program, working with Tina Lieberman and also the energy manager, DGS. We're going to try to find more funding for composting sites all across our city. Another thing that the administration, council members advocated for and many of the voters supported was the CPRB, which is an independent entity right here in the city that investigate police misconduct. Last year was a law that was voted on by 80% of the residents in the city. And they wanted this entity to have funding so they could do investigative tourism. Many of the council are asking for additional funding for this entity. So we look forward to having that discussion with the administration and other council members. Also in this budget, we're going to also rely on $15 million in state funding. I actually got a resolution that's being drafted and it's going to be voted on Monday to make $15 million in state funding permanent for our city. We're optimistic that we're going to get the $15 million. If we don't get it, we're in deep trouble, but I'm optimistic that we're going to get it. And, just a wonderful relationship the administration have with the mayor has with the governor, and also some of the fiscal health that we're in with better fiscal positions right now. Legislatively, some of the things that I'm working on right now with our research council is anti-loitering legislation. And we have these laws already on the books, but we're looking at ways that maybe we can enhance it and also try to encourage enforcement of some of these laws. When you look at 212 store on Quell Street, and also loitering and aggressive panhandling that's taking place right by Price Chopper, by the Madison Theater. I think it's time that we really revisit how we deal with those issues. So I hope that this is an opportunity to start the conversation as it relates to people that are blocking the sidewalk, but also aggressive panhandling in our city. Another thing that legislation I'm working on also is to make visible gun-free zones in all public spaces in our city. We all have this gun violence issue in our city. I think that it's important that the public know that, parks, which is a no-brainer, common sense, that not to bring guns to the parks, But I think that we need to have that visual and visibility and designate some of these public spaces gun-free zone. So kind of deteriorate those who want to carry guns in certain public places. Working with Frank Zioli actually to put together a town hall to talk about trees in our neighborhood. They just recently did one with the 14th Ward leader, Deb Zaber, and also Jack Flynn. It was a great turnout, and I think they go into the nuts and bolts of just like the forestry within the city, and then for how to go about reporting, etc. I think it's really a good informational opportunity to learn more about how trees and also forestry in the city. There was suggested if we wanted to do it alone, but I wanted to bring it up with council members. I think with the neighborhood association, I think it would be best to garner more participants is to partner with the 9th Ward, Megan Keegan, and also partner with councilmember for the 13th Ward, Jenny Farrell. So stay tuned for that. If that's something that, just by show of hands, how many people think that's a good idea? So just doing 10th Ward specific. Okay, sounds good. So that's one of the recommendations that I'm going to send to Frank Zioli and the location. We're debating either at the library or the Madison Theater. So just stay tuned for that sometime in December. There's a new business that just opened right on Ontario, where Capital Q used to be. There's a new pizza shop that just opened. It's called Pine Hills Pizza, and he's excited to be in the neighborhood. He actually purchased a building and couldn't find a tenant to rent it out, so he decided to open a pizza shop. So it is another pizza shop in the neighborhood. So I'm really excited about that. I love it. Whenever we get an empty storefront back in business is always good for the neighborhood. And then lastly, just more public safety stuff. We had the opportunity to walk with our neighborhood engagement officer and also pass some patrol Hudson and Hamilton, and just talk about ways that we can keep the neighborhood safe. And that was a very a great opportunity. So that's it.
You mentioned a couple of months ago, and I may be wrong about this, that part of what you were requesting in the budget is to upgrade the street lights on Madison between Lake and Partridge so that they were, like the rest of Madison, a little bit more period appropriate.
Yes.
And more pedestrian level. Did that get included?
That's not including the budget. We already have funding from previous years, so we are going to get the lights. Yes. So I'm working with Jason West, actually, who's the former mayor in Kingston or something like that. So he's really, Jason West, he's very environmentally conscious and he's really become a good friend in City Hall, and he understands the importance of better lighting. So right now, it looks like we're gonna have, the last I spoke to him, to confirm by spring, lights between South Lake all the way up to Ontario. Some lights I can look at.
Partridge? We're doing that one block?
So as of last, he said Ontario, so we can keep advocating, trying to go all the way. I think so.
Well, that's the only one.
Yeah.
Once you get to Partridge, then.
It gets
then
dark,
it's
it gets
the
dark,
road,
yeah. So I think we should get all the way to
That park is
Partridge.
also the one with most of the empty storefronts.
Yeah, that's 100%. But yeah, Jason West has been really wonderful staff within the city, and he has confirmed that we're going to get it this spring. So I look forward to those updated lights in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yes, on that side, correct.
Actually, not Western.
No, not Weston, but we'll try to advocate for well and Weston. So try to go for well and Weston, but right now it's just Madison.
They don't want to report.
Unless,
Thank you.
Yes.
I didn't mean to give you the rush. Any more questions? So we are, as you know, we no longer do our committee reports every week, and we do get reports sent in by the chairs, and then we'll go out for minutes. The SUNY officer has written that they often will report as needed, and also our NAU officers. Do you have anything that you think you should report this week?
No, I've been since I've been settling in, I've been trying to grassroots it a little more, get out on foot, you know, say hi to neighbors, obviously, Mother Nature cooperates. I've been giving a lot of extra attention to Madison Park, you know, different hours of the day, see what's going on there, you know, to deter anything. Also, we've been dealing with, a homeless, issue in front of the Madison Theater. I don't know if you guys have seen, the young lady in her travels. She has been sent, to to CDPC. As of this weekend, she's got an extensive psychiatric history. But we are getting some extra love through that Madison corridor just to deter any homeless population from cropping back up. I've been in touch with Kevin and Tracy quite a bit. So we're dealing with that. Obviously, also, right now we're seeing a big uptick in car thefts. Usually, mostly from individuals leaving their vehicles running unattended. So obviously, if you are warming up your car in the morning, please do not leave it accessible to anyone because they will jump in it and it will take about 30 seconds. And they'll be taking it out of joyride or crash it or home. So, and also, I did a report for a gentleman on Hamilton 2 weeks ago. It's a holiday season, package thefts. So, you know, just, they're out there, they will canvass neighborhoods, they will go around, you know, and you'll find your box down the street completely empty. So, you know, just bear that in mind, you know, if you have the ability to have the post office hold your package and pick it up there, yeah, it's an inconvenience at your end, but it'll save you some time headaches on the back end.
Thank you. So, and our plan is going forward, we will normally have reports from both NU and from the State University, but it's always as needed and we have particularly on meeting night. The other thing, we're going to continue meeting in this room, we'll probably do more of a boardroom. We have tables we can spread out, and then Landing Officer Gasper, we'll be on TV too, Mr.
My
camera angle.
I can come back up and do it.
Anyway, thank you everyone, this concludes our meeting, and happy holidays, everyone, we'll see you in January.